Welcome everybody to Red G Fox. Okay, so from compared to last week's episode, you feel like it's kind of a come down. There's no such thing as a come down in Sanford and Son, how great it is. But we had such a great episode last week that now after Card Sharps you go, man, it's hard to top that. And you got to admit, that is one of the best all time in Sanford and Son catalog when it comes to episodes. But good news is we get the introduction today to the legendary Rollo. Is that Rita Lawson's boy? So I'm so glad, like I said, we got Julio coming right around the corner as well. That's when you start to get like the main supporting cast that really pushes this show up another notch, where it's not so much relied just on Fred and Lamont, who do a great job carrying it. So today's breakdown, as we get ready for Thanksgiving right around the corner, don't forget, this Friday I will still have an episode, even though I'll be busy all day Thursday. I'm going to have one where it's going to be some of our favorite moments in Sanford and Son history that we are most thankful for, where I'm going to watch the clip, you'll see it on here, we'll break it down, our reaction, and why we are so thankful for those moments in show history. So that's good news, and we will possibly see about a live show this Saturday as well. So it's looking great, man. I'm excited for our channel continues to grow, continue to watch the shorts, continue to do the polls and the fun trivia questions. I got some of you guys out there like Johnny Knight, some of these people who just don't seem to miss. One of these days I will have one on there. We just had a good one on who did the voice of the boxing announcer. A lot of people, more than 50%, are still getting it, but man, I try to make it tough, but not so tough that it's not fun. So let's get today's episode. Have Gun Will Sell. Yeah. It's great because Rollo's in it, and it's got some very funny moments. It's not in the bottom 20 by any stretch of imagination. I wouldn't put it top 20 either. It's just a really good episode. So as we open up, you right away you're hearing a movie, and you can see the intense look on Fred's face, and you hear like the ooh, and he's watching obviously a Wolfman or Dracula movie, which we know Fred loves, especially when he gets Grady and Bubba. Grady most of the time, that's his TV watching buddy, as we see later on. But as not later on today, later on in series history. But Lamont comes down and he looks nice, right? Maybe he's got some of these threads he just won off of Hucklebuck, Skeeter, and Rooster. You never know. But he comes down and he looks sharp, and it looks like he's going out for the night. And he distracts Fred, and they're talking, and Fred's like, yeah. He said, and he even tells him, no, it's Wolfman, dummy. Because he says, oh, you watch one of those Dracula flicks. I love when they say flicks. Reminds me of my stepdad. He never called a movie. He would always call it a flick. And that's where I learned what the whole meaning was behind, and a different term, because I'd always been called movie when I was a kid. And then my stepdad taught me flicks. So he says it's one of those vampire flicks or Dracula flicks. He's all, not you know, dummy, it's Wolfman. And then he sits there and goes, you know, one of the people in this remind me of a girl I used to date. It's not quite funny. A girl I used to date before I met your mother. And before I met your mom. They probably got the idea from Fred Sanford. And he's all, who, that white woman on there? And he said, no, Wolfman. And right away you're like, and even Lamont says, he's all, man, short hair. It was because of the short hair. We know in the original Wolfman, he always had the short, almost like it was combed and tiny brushed, puffy hair. So you get a vision of this lady. And Fred's like, oh man, short hair, ugly woman. And Lamont's like, then why the heck did you date her? Why are you dating this ugly woman? And he goes, because that girl can cook. He's all better than Julia Childs, whatever it was. She was an amazing cook. And I love and these are such great moments that you only get a few in series history, where you see Fred and Lamont talking father and son in a very personal relationship, or moments where they talk about their past. And if you're a dad like myself, I have these moments with my kids, and I have a lot more than they did show in the show. I love them. You treasure these. So when I see them, I treasure these on the show as well. And as he's doing it and he's talking about it, he finally gets to where he's like, yeah, you know, you sit there, nice eating. I remember eating like this. And he sits back to the couch. He's like, put your arm over. And then he looks over. He does the double take, like he makes with Esther or something. And he's just like, man, no, she was ugly, but she was a great cook. And then when he did that, he's like, man, why don't you get up and go cook something? So very funny. And then he missed the end of the movie, and Fred's like, man, you made me miss the end of the movie. And Lamont even rightfully says, he said, who cares, Pop? He said, you were telling me a great story. And Fred's like, yeah, I like reminiscing on that. And he's like, where are you going? And Lamont's like, oh, I'm going out, Pop. I'm going out. He's like, what? You know I hate when you go out and leave me alone. You know there's been a string of burglaries. So right there we know, because in every time in show history, anytime Fred talks about getting broken into or anything, he never uses an example. Like he'll just say, you know I hate being alone. What if someone comes here and mugs me? What if someone comes here and shoots me? Or whatever. but he never actually lists a specific reason. So the fact that he says, there's been burglaries in this neighborhood, we know right now what to expect. You always got to pay attention to those little things. And Lamont's like, oh, nothing's going to happen. He said, don't even worry about it. And he's like, no, I'm not going to sleep. And he's like, who you going with? He said, I'm going out with a friend. And then he says, Rollo. And I love that name. And then he's all, Rollo, you mean Rita Lawson's boy? We all know that when we hear Rollo, that's the first thing that pops in our mind. And then he says, oh, when did he get out of jail? And he's like, why? And that is going to be a theme we get to enjoy. And just like Fred finding glasses or Fred making up names with the Ripple, we're going to always get Rollo the jailbird and some kind of thing about him being a convict. And he's like, why you got to say that? You don't know he's been in jail. And then he's going by gossip. Well, this guy said this. And he's like, oh, before that, a top 5 funny. Fred's like, no, I'm not going to sleep with you gone. And Lamont's, well, then have a nice hot whiskey tonic. He's like, I can't drink no whiskey tonic. That ain't going to make me sleepy. He's all, then drink a warm glass of milk. He said, and Fred, you love this. He does that a lot where he's like, that'll make me burp. He always says that. That'll make me burp. He said, then get yourself a glass of vinegar and a nice lemon. And he's all, will that help me sleep? He's all, no, but it'll tighten your mouth so tight you'll shut the heck up. And Fred's like, that's not very nice. It's a great joke because Lamont's like, look, I'm trying to tell you how to relax and you don't want to take it. Then Rollo's at the door. And we know, and then you love when Rollo comes in. When he enters, it's such a great first scene. And we actually broke this down on who had the most memorable first appearance in Sanford and Son history for all the supporting characters. And I got to say Rollo's is up there, right? I really like Grady's, I really like Esther's, and I really like Rollo's. Rollo, because it's such a good intro. The minute we see Rollo, he does not change. He is the same cool, smooth, fast-talking, energetic, and comedic guy that we meet now that he is in season 5. And so he comes in, he's got the nice suit, and they give each other the tan, slap me some skin, brother. He's all, it's cool. And you love Rollo's introduction. Comes in, and right away, Fred's making comments, making jokes about him. And Rollo busts out, and then he says, yeah, man. He's like he's seen the suit somewhere at the cheap store, and he's all, no, this is from a tailor, a gentleman's tailor. I also love the fact that his name is Nathaniel Taylor. Maybe it really is his suit, so it's Taylor's. It's from Taylor. And so he says that, and he's like, Fred's like, yeah, I want to see the gentleman who just got it stolen from. Again, attacking Rollo, saying he's basically stealing someone else's clothes. And then he gives him a nice cigar. And Fred's like, this better not be none of that green, the wild parsley, but any of that green stuff. And he's like, no, it's not. It's legit, man. I got that from, I think he said Cuba. So it's a good introduction of Rollo sharing, being kind, kind of like how Julio was. And Fred, when he has his mindset, it's very hard to change him. And he's not happy. And they're taking off. Before they take off, another top 5 funny. There's some good moments here. When Fred's like, Lamont, and they're like, he's like, hey, can I go with you? And they start busting up. They're like, nah, man. And Rollo says it's so cool. He's like, nah, man, this ain't a place for you. He said, we're going where there's nothing but the sisters and the brothers. And Fred's all, well, can y'all put me in the corner where we got the mamas and the papas? The mamas and the papas. And Rollo and Lamont start laughing. They're like, no, they're out of here. And Fred's like, you're going to be sorry. As he's when you're going to be sorry, you come back here and some guy attacked me and break into the house. So he sits down, he falls asleep. So we know it's hours later because we hear, if anyone remembers, comment in the section below. I remember this where sometimes I'd turn the TV on when I was a kid. I might have a nightmare, flip on the TV, and you get something on, and I just turn the volume down. You just needed that bright light. And then you'd wake up and you'd see nothing but static. Or if you didn't have the volume all the way down, you would hear where it would do the national anthem, just the musical part for the end of the day. And that meant that station was done. There was nothing else coming on until the morning, and you just get static. And that happens here, and Fred's asleep, and then in comes the burglar. And he's almost like the tiptoe burglar we see years later in a different episode about Frank Sinatra. But he sits there and he starts stealing stuff piece by piece, and Fred's not hearing it. He's moving around. Then you hear the car pull up, and Fred wakes up, and you see him, and the crook flips off the lights, and then in comes Lamont and Rollo, and when you flip the lights on, Fred thinks he has him, and he's choking Rollo. He's choking Rollo, and the guy got out, and Fred stops, and Rollo's like, man, what you doing? And he's all, I can't help it. When I panic, I reach for the first criminal. He's already laid into him like 3 times, and he just met Rollo. And he's already dropping criminal jokes on him. Man, such good writing and character development throughout the series. But as he does that, they're like, nope, it's not. And he said, see, I told you. And they go outside and they see the stuff stolen. And you can see Rollo sitting down. He's still holding his throat. I wonder if Red Fox really hurt him in real life, or he's just that good of an actor. He's selling the part. But notice that. Watch it when they're talking. But as they're doing that, they see the stolen stuff. And Lamont's like, man, how you How did you not stop him, Pop? If the guy had a gun, what is Fred going to do? Punch the guy and get shot? You should be thankful your dad's alive. And he sits there and he's like, oh, he hit me on the head. And he says, with the gun. And he goes, he did. And he goes, I just woke up right when you guys came through. And he goes to look at Fred's head. And Fred's like, no, you're not going to see nothing. He hit me with something soft. How the heck do you hit someone with something soft? And he's all, with something soft. And I love Lamont's reaction on that. And he's like, yeah, he got the gun, the handle of the gun must have been that soft rubber. You know, those new rubber handles. He's like, come on, Pop, how did he knock you out with something soft? And he goes, you were asleep. And so they debate it. They get the stuff back inside. And as they come back in and they're kind of just still feeling everything out, Rollo finds a gun. He's all, look, man. And he's all, check this out. Snub nose. And it's got an 8-shooter. 8-shooter, Jack. I love when he says Jack. He's all, 8-shooter. So you know it's custom made. And he's saying, we should pawn it. We should sell this. And they're trying to talk. And Fred's like, before that, when he sees the gun, Fred's like, oh, no. You know, he's having a heart attack. And he's like, Lamont even said, he's all, I thought you knew he had a gun. He hit you with it. He's like, yeah, he hit me with it, but I didn't see it. So he's panicked. He doesn't want a gun in there. And they're like, let's get rid of it. Fred's like, nope, we're not going to pawn it. Let's call the police. Let's take it to the police. And Rollo, a top 5 funny, just the thing. He's oh man, you hand this gun in, they'll have you charged with every shooting since Lincoln, Jack. And it's so true that, you know, if it was Spinning Hoppy, they would trust Fred. But if Fred just walked in or anyone else, they're going to look at that gun, they're going to check the prints, which you'll be on there, and any gun that's been involved with, unless they already had someone who captured previously and the gun just got stolen or something, they could loop you to it. And Rollo is 100% right where they can build it, especially if Rollo handed it in. So he's like, nah, we got to sell it. Let's get it out of here. And the fact that, you know, we can make some money off of this. And Lamont loves it. Fred, fine. He's like, you want to sell it? Get out of my house. Take it. I want nothing to do with it, as I would be saying. I might have even fought and said, let's take it to the police. But I'm not Rollo in that situation. I'm going to trust Rollo's judgment on this. So as he's saying that, he's like, nah, let's do it. Lamont wants it. They're ready to do it. They're upon it. And Lamont's like, yeah, you can take it. He's all, oh, not me. You know, because Rollo even knows I don't want nothing to do with it. Heck, Rollo's probably been to jail. He doesn't want to do it. Lamont doesn't do it. We need someone innocent, man. We need someone they're not going to suspect. Then they look over at Fred. Fred's like, nah. So they break it down. They convince it. And then I love it's the next day now. They're going to sell the gun. And they take the gun and he's like, here, stuff it in there. And Fred's going to stuff it in his pants. And you can see the bulge over his sweater. And even Fred says, what is this? You know, look at this bulge. I can't be walking around like that. And they're like, look, you'll be fine. So they get to the pawn dealer, and in there's a customer who's trying to, you know, make a sale. And Fred walks in. For the love of everything, even all of us know, Lamont and Rollo wait to the side. The fact if you even stood to the side where a window, you shouldn't even have went up by there. Just let Fred go in. Let Fred do his thing. But the fact they're both hovering, man, now it looks suspicious. And the customer leaves, and then Fred's like, and the pawn dealer's kind of, okay, what's going on here? And Fred's like, hey, you know, you're doing a lot of good stuff. And he's having great conversation. I'm not going to bore you with it. You can watch the episode. But he's like, you know, this is great stuff. And he's like, I'm into that too. He said, I'm into collecting things. And the guy's suspicious, and he's like, yeah, I'm the inside man. My son's the wheel man. Obviously, Lamont drives. This is a great situational comedy. You know, the whole thing with sitcoms. This is it at its finest. Three's Company, every show has had this. Some exaggerate and do it every time. This one, sometimes story carries it, but this is a great situation right here. And as he's setting it, it's setting up beautifully. His son's the wheel man, so you're thinking he's the inside man. Steal it, and then Lamont drives him out of there. So he's like, oh, okay, yeah. And then you see him push the button for the police. And he's like, all right, so I got this gun. And he pulls it out, and he's like, how much can I get? We all know that in real life he would hold it and say, hey, you know, I have this gun that I want to sell it. What's the price you can give me? Maybe even lay it down. But he's holding it suspiciously. He's not making it clear. And I don't blame the store owner one bit. He's not making, this is no prejudice or stereotype. He's scared, and the way Fred's painting the picture, you gotta agree with him. But Fred at the same time is not thinking anything bad. He's thinking, look, I got this gun. What can I get? And so he's like, oh, you know, all I have is this. And he's just naming how much. He's doing anything he can to stall, and he's doing a really good job. And he's nervous. Then Rollo and Lamont come in, and they make it even worse. Hey, man, what can we get? Come on, hurry if you're taking too long in here. That would scare the crap out of me. Now I'm like, they got 3 guys in here. They're shouting at their own partner. They're saying, hurry up, I'm taking too long. And he's like, oh, you know, the best I can give you, was it 50. He gives them a dollar amount. That's the best I give him. Fred said, I'll take it. I'll take it. And they're like, nah, come on, Jack. You got to do better than that. And he's like, well, maybe, and he wisely, then finally, in come the police. And thank God it's Smitty and Hoppy. And in my job, I do have a coverage area. So when I go to a lot of homes, you do get similar people if they have the same problems. So the fact, I don't think this is far-fetched that Smitty and Hoppy arrive so much on the scenes, because this time of day, this is their coverage area. So they come in and they pull the guns and they're all frozen. They're like, freeze, freeze. And Smitty, why did I say Hoppy? See, Hoppy's not here. It's Swanee. It's Smitty and Swanee. And they sit there and they're holding him. Then they turn around. They're like, he sees him and he's all, Fred. And he's like, Swanee, Smitty. And they're so excited. And they're like, what are you guys doing here? And they're like, we're here for basically a robbery. There's a robbery in progress. And they're like, what? And the store owner's like, yeah, you held a gun at me and demanded money. All factual. And Fred wants to knock him out. Fred's pissed now. And then they break down the situation. They tell him. And then, of course, Swanee pulls the old big words and they don't understand. They look at him and Smitty has to translate. Such a great scene when they do that. I always love when they do that. I miss it. They don't do it as much later on because, like I said, Hoppy develops the lingo and kind of catches on, and he doesn't speak in such big words, even though he still is kind of stiff as a board. Not cool, even though he tries to be. But they get it and they find out, and they're like, failure to report a gun like this, is a crime. You got to report it. And Fred's all, see, I told you we should have handed this in. So they take the gun. They're not going to get any money. Everything's good. They're all cleared up. They go outside, and Fred's like, hey, how much could I got? And I think he said, possibly 150. He could have, or 100. And he's like, hey, I got another old gun. And he describes it. And he's got this nice gun at home. He can get it, and he could sell it for big cash. So Fred's pumped. And you're thinking, all right, this is setting up for a great ending. Everyone's going to be happy. Fred gets home. Lamont get home. And they find stuff gone. The TV's gone. The gun is gone. Now they have to get Smitty and Hoppy back here. They want them back, and they're gonna have to file a report. And they read the note, and on the note it's basically saying, "Look, I was here. To whom it may concern." I love the nice writing. And he's like, "Oh, I came in here the other night and I lost my gun. So to make up for it, I had to steal stuff that equals the value of the gun." What a great criminal, right? Oh my gosh. So that's basically how it ends. Great episode. Like I said, my favorite parts are all up to probably everything, but meeting Rollo, hearing the story between father and son, meeting Rollo, getting to his development. The robbery scene is, it's okay. It's funny, Fred choking Rollo, but the robbery scene, it is what it is. Then in the pawn shop, that is great comedy as well. And I like scenes where you get multiple areas. You're moving out of the house. It's not so much stuck in Sanford house all the time. And they even had some stuff in the yard. So very episode-wise, rating-wise on IMDb, I think it's 7.5 out of 10. So it's good. We've seen everything is always 7 or higher. That's how great the show is. There is no 5 point something or 6.2. Everything is just outstanding. And this is one that I would definitely say, hey, go watch it. Go watch it. This is, heck, all of them. But this is one where I'd say, oh, have gun will sell. Yeah, that's funny. Rollo's first episode. And they get the store owner and he thinks he's robbing the store. And yeah, it's great humor. A lot of good jokes in there. Top 5 funny, like I said. We got the, like I said, the hit me was soft. The mamas and the papas. There was a lot of good one-liners in this one as well. And love meeting Rollo. So that is it on the episode. Unfortunately, it does end where they don't, once again, Fred gets screwed out of something. Let's get to our fun facts. Now, this is one I couldn't read up on. It's just something I picked up on the show. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. When he's talking about how great his ex-girlfriend was a cook, he even says, my mother, Mary. I believe that means his mother's name, and which I didn't know a lot. I always forget because, in the past, I never write this down. But I believe that's his mom's name, Mary. Remember, we do see his mom in the Christmas episode, which we will special premiere during Christmas week. I'm not going to wait for another 3 years to get to that. But every year we'll probably break something down about that for Christmas. But in that one we see his mom. So I want to say his mom's name. He says my mom Mary. He's not Catholic, so he's not saying Mother Mary. So that is a fun fact. Sanford's mom, Lamont's grandma, I believe is Mary. And in this one's cool. If you look in the pawn shop, you will actually find in the background a porcelain piece that is the identical piece to the one in the very first episode's Cross Swords. I think that's pretty cool. It almost reminds me of a Pixar movie where they always have something in the background or from other movies. In this, they did that, and I like that a lot. These guys, top notch. I don't care if they're just saying, hey, we need pieces, bring in anything, and they weren't, maybe they either weren't paying attention or they were and said, hey, this is from the very first episode, let's put that in. That is a fun fact. That's something I like. That is it for fun facts. Let's get to familiar faces. We have plenty of them. First up is Nathaniel Taylor, who plays Rollo, Rita Lawson's boy. Obviously, he was also in Sanford, many episodes in that. He was in the Red Fox show. Now, if you look at the listing, it says 2 episodes. But I could have swore he was in multiple ones. Maybe it was just 2, but early on. But I could have swore he was in 3 or 4, maybe 5. But the Red Fox show. He was also in something called Black Girl, Adam 12, 227, one of my favorite sitcoms I remember growing up as a kid watching. And also one of the best and in my top 10 of all-time favorite sitcoms for me personally, What's Happening? He was Reruns, brother-in-law. Man, one of the greatest episodes of What's Happening. Go watch that one. It's in season 2 where Dwayne can predict scores, and it turns out he's just guessing by the helmets with Tampa and the Raiders. And the Raiders, he goes with that, and he's in this. Nathaniel Taylor's in that. Man, he is so funny in that. You got to go watch that one. What's Happening, season 2, where Dwayne can guess the football. I think it's called like the football prediction, whatever it is. But look it up. That's a good one. But he's in What's Happening. That's what I love him as well. Also, we got as the pawnbroker, that is William Hanson. He was in other shows. Some of these guys, I don't recognize him. The only one I recognize was Rollo in this. But he was in Kojak, Bloodsport, Tarzan, Risk, and Homebodies. So, oh no, I'm sorry, not Tarzan. It was Target Risk. Without my glasses, my fault. But he was in something called Target Risk. So if you recognize him, comment below. I don't know anything. I mean, a lot of these guys, they've been in dozens of things where it's either uncredited or one little scene. So I look for things that they actually had speaking parts or reoccurring roles. Next up, we have Paula Victor. That was the customer, the lady who, when they walk in, she was in there. She was in something called The Entity, Midnight Madness, The A-Team, one of my all-time favorite shows, in murder shows, Murder, She Wrote. I love that show. She was in that. And she had many appearances in the teens of Days of Our Lives. So any soap opera fans on here, you might recognize her as well. That is Paula Victor. And our last one is Dillard Hasten. Dillard Hasten, he was the crook who was robbing. He did appear in other things, not too many things, but he was in the show. This is the one from Tarzan. He was also in something called Insight and Dr. Kildave. So those are some appearances he did. Comment below if you recognize him as well. I didn't. I mean, if I couldn't pick him out of a lineup, you know, if I had seen him just even after this episode, because he's hiding. You don't really get a good look at his face. So that does it for Have Gun Will Sell. Very fun episode. I enjoyed watching this one. I recommend go out and watching it. The fact that it's Rollo joining the crew, we got 2 episodes away. I believe we're gonna also get Julio. Man, I love it. This is a great time. If you are new, like, subscribe, join our channel, join our community. There will be episodes you might not like, or there might be shorts you don't really care about, but I promise you will find things you do like and enjoy, and a community that really consistently appears, makes comments, and helps out for everything we love on Sanford and Son. Thank you. So I won't see you again until Thanksgiving. So have a great, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you have family around. You're able to be with someone, whether it's one family member or a dozen or a bunch, whatever the case may be is. I love family, I love football, and I love food, and that's what I'm getting this Thursday. So thank everybody for watching. Go out and enjoy your Thanksgiving. Talk to you guys later.